In the 80s, it was platformers. In the 90s, it was 3D platformers. There's always a genre that seems to dominate the industry. That is, until the next big thing comes along. One of the biggest things these days seems to be putting a camera above your character's right shoulder. I guess you can thank Leon Kennedy for that. Because ever since his little trip to Europe, this has been it. Third-person shooters. Maybe some cover elements. Or in this case, some really shitty weather. Lost Planet 3 may take place on a frozen rock in outer space, but again, for those up to date on their gaming, this is a very familiar world. The core gameplay and mechanics are the standard used by so many of the industry's biggest games, but to its credit, this one also has a surprising amount of character. What you're left with is a game that, while familiar to a fault, is just different enough to be worth your time. You've made this climb before, but it's still an awesome view. It all starts with the hero, James Payton, a Nicolas Cage lookalike, who seems to have just as much personality. But what he lacks in charisma, he makes up for with empathy. He's just a guy who ended up on a frozen planet, separated from his wife and kid, just because his boss said so. He's surrounded by a suit of armor and ice that's about 100 miles thick. But inside the cockpit, there's surprising warmth. Payton just misses his wife. And even as he drills deeper into this frozen hell, her messages play right in front of him, a touching contrast to the icy terrors just beyond that thin sheet of glass.
What the hell?
Speaking of which, oh yeah, dude has a mech. One of the things that gives Lost Planet 3 its own unique feel, despite a less than unique genre, is the fact that you navigate the planet in this massive walking tank. It's like you're home away from home. It refills your ammo, gets you from mission to mission by literally drilling through the ice, and best of all, it's kind of a freaking weapon. Of course, as powerful as it is, it also has some shortcomings. Just one of this planet's devastating snowstorms can freeze it solid. So now you're on foot, trying to take care of the ice, as well as whatever else the storm blew in. By the way, it's really cold here. Like really freaking cold.
I mean, it is rightly cold out here.
And that's another defining element of Lost Planet 3, the fact that the place just feels frozen. Ice crystals glisten everywhere you look. A thin layer of frozen fog covers every cave and crevice. But the game does a great job of creating this frigid atmosphere that's both unique and gorgeous to take in as you explore. But actually, that's where the quality starts to melt with Lost Planet 3, once you're on foot. It's not that this is a bad shooter, not at all. It's like every other one you've ever played. It does do a lot to set itself apart, but Lost Planet 3 is still a very familiar gameplay experience. Too familiar, in fact, to the point that you could say it's kind of generic.
Ugh, God.
You know, this game's actually a great example of all that's right and all that's wrong with the gaming industry. I mean, here's this stunning world that manages to be both hypnotic and horrifying within the same breath. Here's a touching story with an unexpected moral. And here it is in this gorgeous package, all built around a standard third-person shooter. Lost Planet 3 is one hell of a ride, but it's kind of like a roller coaster. It's just safety dressed up like a thrill. It's the unexpected drawn on a blueprint. It's danger with a seatbelt. Although, in Lost Planet 3, that seatbelt is inside a giant mech. So I guess sometimes the most enjoyable thrills are the safe ones.